Shalom, shalom. This is Shalamar from the Great Millstone, Atlanta Camp. Before I get started with this lesson, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rahakwadash. Double honors to my elders and apostles of Great Millstone that teach and rule well. Peace, love, and safety to the hopeful elect. And just want to go into because I just did a lesson on the salvation of Israel, and the other nations are going to be serving and obeying Israel, which are mainly you Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. But you also have other Israelites that scattered amongst the heathen. Okay, so we're going to get some scriptures. First, I want to start out with Wisdom of Solomon 5, because really, these other nations, they seriously doubt that we're the chosen people. This is Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5 and verse 1. It says, Then shall the righteous man stand up in great boldness before the face of such have afflicted him, and made no account of his labor. And basically, let's go into we're standing up, we're teaching. We're coming up against our people. Not our people. Actually, we're coming up against our people and our enemies. All right. We have to come up against our people because they scoff at us. They say that we're lying, and, we're just trying to do this for fame, or, they just make up stuff. Or those guys are wrong. They just angry. All right, it ain't none of that. The Lord put the spirit on us to tell you people the truth, and to warn you of what's to come. That's our first job, to warn you of what's to come. All right, which is destruction in the end of this world. And if you don't want to get caught up in the wrath of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, you have to be on the side of righteousness. So we teach our people to keep the commandments to the best of your ability. Read the commandments, keep the holy days the best you can. We have jobs. We're still in the land of our captivity. We can't do everything perfect. That's why our faith and our works is what's going to carry us into the kingdom. Okay. It says, verse 2, when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they look for. And that's going to be right at the end. Right now, they're afraid even by seeing us standing up and teaching. It talks about that in I'm going to come back to this. Let's go to Revelations 11. I believe it's 11 and 11. Yeah, Revelations 11 and 11. It says, and after 3 days and a half. Okay, let's stop there. You can't just read scriptures and skip by stuff, because they're going to be like 3 days. No, that's not talking about 3 days and a half. It's talking about 300 years and a half, 350 years. And that time period started right when the slave trade started. That's when Esau began to put our people into heavy captivity. Not only Judah, you so-called Negroes, but all of the Israelite nations, the Hispanics and the Native Americans. Native Americans were pretty much almost completely destroyed from off the planet. 90% of Native Americans got destroyed by the hand of Esau. You don't think that's going to happen? You don't think the Lord is going to reverse that? It says, and after 3 days and a half, and by the way, that time period was from 1619 to 1969 when the truth first came out, 1970. All right, that's 350 years. And after that, you start seeing, started with the great Abba Bivens, and then, the great King Masha, and the One West teachers, and the elders and apostles, a great millstone. This was a long time ago, but the truth has just spread it since. But it started there, and that's when the Israelites started to get the spirit back, the breath of life. They were dry bones, as you read in Ezekiel. What's that, 30? 37, 38. It's lucky if I forgot, but I think it's Ezekiel 37 with the dry bones. Let me just take a peek at it. I'm gonna come right back to this, and then I'm gonna go back to Wisdom of Solomon. Ezekiel 37. Yeah, that's the prophecy of the dry bones, which when Israel didn't know who they were, and then the Spirit came upon the Israelites to pretty much get that wisdom and knowledge of who they are. And here we are today. Revelations 11 and 11 again. It says, and after 3 days and a half, the Spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. So this is a terrible thing for these heathens to see us waking up and teaching, doing lessons, out on the in the streets with our fringes on, and our garments, reading the Bible, breaking down prophecy. There's nothing they can do. Of course, the famine of the word is going to come where we're not going to be able to do that. But right now, you see how fast this word is spreading. It's spreading like a wildfire. And let's go back to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5. And it says, when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far all that they've looked for, so far beyond all that they look for. And they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision and a proverb of reproach. We fools accounted his life madness and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of the Most High, and his lot is among the saints? Right, because we're hidden. We're the lost sheep. All right. We're almost the found sheep because his word is reaching our people. The word is going to reach 1/3 of our people. And as you see, there's a lot of people waking up, looking at how many comments are on these videos. How many people know the name of the Lord? I saw a video brother had shared. It was a guy, he was talking, I forgot what all he was saying, but he said the name of the Lord. He said it clear, Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. He said Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai? Okay, the true name of the Heavenly Father and the only begotten Son of the world calls Jesus, whose name is Yahweh Shai. So, this truth is spreading. People are realizing, who the Israelites are, and that is strange to them. But on the flip side, you got Israelites that think it's just dark-skinned people. They think the Israelites are just dark-skinned people. When it's not just dark-skinned people. It's going to be so-called white people, so-called Asian people, so-called Arabs, so-called Africans. All of the Africans are not Hamites. You got some in Nigeria, Ghana. A lot of those are not Hamites. A lot of those are Israelites. Okay, but I wanted to get Isaiah real quick. Isaiah chapter 11 and 11. And that's the first 11 and the second 11 and 11. Okay, it says, and it shall come to pass in that day, said the Lord Yahweh. Slacky, let me start it again. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord Yahweh shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant. And who's the Lord's hand? That's talking about Yahweh Shai. He's the right hand of Yahweh. He's the power. He's the force. Okay. And it says to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set them up in ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. All right, so that's going to happen. Israel is not just going to be Negroes out of America. It's going to be a few. It's not going to be a whole lot. Most of our people are going to be destroyed on this side, and they're going to come back in the kingdom via reincarnation. But yeah, salvation is going to be everywhere. That goes into Revelation 7 and 9. That great multitude out of all nations and kindreds. Those are Israelites. No other nation is going to receive salvation. But it's going to be Israelites in all nations. That's what people don't understand. Okay, let's go to Ezekiel 39. And right at the end, verse 27, it says, when I have brought them again from the people and gathered them out of their enemies' land, and am sanctified in them in the sight of many nations. So yeah, you're going to have these chariots delivering Israelites out of all these different lands. Now, mainly America, because America is going to be completely destroyed, but you're going to have the chariots delivering the Israelites from everywhere. It says, then shall they know that I am the Lord their power, which caused them to be led into captivity among the heathen. But I have gathered them unto their own land, and have left none of them any more. Neither will I hide my face any more from them, for I have poured out my spirit upon the house of Israel, said the Lord Yahweh. All right, let's go to Isaiah 14, because it talks about the Israelites, and then it talks about the Israelite foreigners. Isaiah 14 and 1, it says, for the Lord Yahweh will have mercy upon Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers, those are talking about the Israelite foreigners, shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of it, and the people, is talking about the other nations, shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So you're going to have the Israelites, the Israelite foreigners, but in the kingdom, because we're all going to be changed, and receive new bodies. We're going to look different. Those Israelite foreigners are going to actually look like Israelites. You know, those Israelite foreigners that look like Edomites, they're going to look like an Israelite. You know, Moab, the Chinese, you know, it's going to be Israelites that look like them. They're going to look like Israelites in the kingdom. Right now, because they're scattered through into the enemy's land, they look like the enemy. That's why when we see people, we have to judge by the spirit and not by the appearance. Okay, and I'm gonna get one more verse and I'm gonna end it. This is Revelations 7 and 9. It says, after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hand. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, salvation to our power, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. The Lamb being Yahushua, who the world calls Jesus, that great multitude being the Israelite foreigners out of all nations. Okay. And the Israelites that know that they're Israelites, that look like Israelites. All right. So just wanted to get put an understanding out of, you know, we don't judge by what people look like. It's all about the spirit. and their flesh, their bloodline actually goes back to the same progenitor of our bloodline. You know, Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So I guess I'll go ahead and end it there. That was mainly the point. Once again, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem, or Hakwadash. Double honors to my elders and apostles, a great millstone that taught us his truth. Shalom to the elect.